Ignition.
Before we get going, I wanted to give you guys some context for this video. Recently, I rented a Harley Davidson Street Glide and rode it 640 miles from Orlando, Florida to Key Largo and back. I'll link those two videos in the upper right hand corner if you want to check out that trip. This video, filmed during that same 640 mile trip, is focused more on my review of the Street Glide after spending 2 days and 640 miles with the bike. This is mostly footage I didn't include in the original day 1 and day 2 videos for the trip. I didn't want to make an hour-long video, and I didn't want a single video with two different focus points. One focus point being the trip, and the second focus point being the review of the Harley Davidson Street Glide. One last thing, I'm a sport bike rider. Currently, I ride a 2022 Hayabusa and a 2015 ZX-10R, and I also have this lovely 1997 GSXR 600. So keep all that in mind while I go through what I think of the Harley Davidson Street Glide. This is my first Harley Davidson ride. This is my first bagger touring genre motorcycle ride. So, all right, let's get going.
That's so cool. All right, we're in neutral. I accept. Cape Canaveral. Okay, now how do I get directions? Click that guy. Yeah. Go. I was worried about like starting from a standstill with a big displacement V-twin and like it wanting to lug, but it doesn't. It's not like that at all. It's actually fairly smooth. Not at all what I thought it was going to be like, you know, with a big V-twin. Let's see, get really wide, look ahead, counterbalance, get your butt on the outside. I mean, these are, I think, 104 cc's or cubic inches. And there's, what, 60-some cubic inches to a liter. So, you know, these are big motors. And not quite 2 liters. What, let's see, 60... 40 over, so these got to be around like 1700 cc's, something like that. I'll put it on the screen, but I just thought they would be more ass pain riding around in the city, to be honest, going from stoplight to stoplight with a big, huge, heavy V-twin. But it's not bad at all. I mean, we got lost in the city there for what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, going, making U-turn after U-turn. Stupid navigation system didn't keep up with me very well. But yeah, so I just thought it would feel very lethargic in the city, but it's not bad at all. And you know, I'm sure it depends on rider experience and skill and all that kind of stuff, but for me, you know, like when we had to make that little U-turn, it was a piece of cake. It doesn't mind. You know, once you get it going, it's like every other motorcycle when it comes to things like that. So, yeah, now cruising on the highway, dude. I understand why. I mean, I understood before, but now I can experience it. And so before, it's like, well, sure, I get why you want a big old fairing. I get, you know, why you want a nice seat to just kind of hold your ass, and these huge platforms down here are freaking amazing. But now it's like you experience what you imagined would make a bike. I mean, look, this is like cheating. That's what this is. This is like cheating. I mean, compared to the ZX-10 when I rode that out to California and the Hayabusa, it's just like you're cheating. I like the handlebar placement, the controls, if you've never ridden a Harley before, having a turn signal on each handlebar. I mean, when you think about it logically, it's like, why don't all bikes just do it that way? I mean, once you get used to it, you get used to it, and it makes a lot of sense that you have the right turn signal over here and the left over here. But it's just different from every motorcycle I've ridden for the last 30 years. So remembering that is important. it's just different, you know. It's like everything else, you get used to it. Like how far forward the shifter is, you know, if you're coming from a sport bike and you're used to rear sets and now you've got these forward controls, it's nice. These platforms are huge. They feel like they could fit somebody with a size 15 boot. But I miss the shifter a lot. I'm still getting used to it. I mean, we're only 41 miles into this road trip, so that's just kind of where I'm at right now. I like these mirrors. These mirrors are great. We got cruise control locked in at 80, 81-ish miles per hour, 6 gear, 3,000 RPMs. The Harley Davidson feels like it could cruise at this speed all day long now. Wind buffering. You know, maybe it's because I'm coming from a sport bike where you don't really have much wind protection at all. I was expecting better than this. Is it better than a sport bike? Absolutely, 1,000%. I mean, again, sport bikes set the bar pretty low for wind protection. So yeah, this is a humongous improvement. I'm definitely getting a little bit of wind buffering, probably like maybe in the forehead area, but you know, if I just pop down a couple inches, it's quiet. It's so quiet. It's I mean, just all the wind buffering is gone. It's a beautiful thing. I'm about 6 feet tall, and but I pop back up to my normal position, and yeah, there's a lot of wind noise and buffering. So I think, you know, if you're 6 foot plus and you want this quiet right here, you're gonna want a little bit taller windscreen for sure. And there's like this little vent right here. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if you could like close that. I'm not sure what the purpose of that is, but it's there. There's plenty of torque. There's plenty of passing power. I'm at 80. We're just gonna roll the throttle on, cruise is set, and just like that, we're at 90. So I mean, if you need to pass somebody, especially if you're, I mean, right now we're locked in at 80 and the speed limit's that, but you know, if you're like 65, 70, there's just as much passing torque available to you as there was right there. I mean, it was only a few seconds we were up to 90 miles per hour, so it's not fast, but it's not slow, you know? I mean, for what it is, a big intercontinental touring machine, you don't expect it to take off like a ZX-10R or a Hayabusa. You just want enough torque to pull you past traffic, and you don't need to downshift on this bike. I mean, it redlines at 5,500 RPMs, for crying out loud. There's no need to downshift. It has torque for days. It's really a completely different experience than something like the Hayabusa or the ZX-10R or any like leader class sport bike, like where you want to downshift a few gears to really get her going, because that's just what it takes. You have like 14,000 RPMs. On this, you've got 5,500. It's almost literally a third of the RPM band of a leader bike sport bike, but it doesn't matter. It's got torque through the whole damn thing. You can cruise around at 2,000 RPMs and just roll the throttle on, and she moves. It's good. It's good stuff. Cruise control works pretty good, so I'm gonna turn it off. So you press it in to turn it on, you get your orange light there, and then you go down to set it. Now I'm at 75 miles per hour. You can increment up, just press the button up, and it just increments, and I can feel the bike kind of pulling a little bit. It looks like I'm slowing down because he just sped up, but that's not the case. You can see the speed change on the speedometer, and then you press down to decrement your speed. It's probably like 1 mile per hour in each increment and decrement. And then, you know, just like any motorcycle with cruise control, you hit your front brake, it'll cancel the cruise out. It cancels your setting, but it doesn't turn cruise off. And then of course you can always, we'll set cruise again, and then just press it in and turn cruise off. Either way, I wonder if it works with the rear brake. Let me turn cruise back on and set that again. Yep, as it should, and it does. All right. We're at 105.1 miles, and I'm not tired at all. It's easy days, man. I said it before, I say it again. This is like cheating compared to a sport bike. 8:20 on a Wednesday night, 30 miles from Key Largo, and everybody's out driving their fucking cars. Why? Miami rush hour goes till 9 o'clock. I don't know, man. I never want to take the interstate through Miami ever again. I'm just rolling it on from like 4th gear, going for it. You know, for a big heavy touring bike, you can't complain about that. She gets up and moves out of the way pretty good when you're trying to do these really tight maneuvers, but it's just like any other bike. It's all in your head. It all works the same, whether it's 250-pound dirt bike or this is it right here, right? 250-pound dirt bike, or what is this, like 800 pounds probably? I don't know, I'm just guessing. I have no idea how much this weighs. I'll look it up on the net and put it up on the screen. Yeah, put it on the screen. Everything I don't know, I'm gonna put it on the screen, which is a lot, so pay attention to the screen. Yeah, you know, once you get going, it's all the same. It's just intimidating because it's so big and heavy compared to anything else I've ever ridden, but it's very mobile and it's really tight shit. You just, you know, go spend some time in a parking lot and practice, set up some cones and practice. That's all it comes down to. And then with that practice, you gain confidence, and it works, man. Probably the area where I like this bike the least is like that stop and go city traffic through Miami. That was the heavy clutch pull, and you're in a situation where you're just feeling the weight of the bike all the time. And I didn't like that. That's where I want to be on my light, nimble crotch rocket. Yeah, I think for something like this, a hydraulic clutch makes a lot of sense. It's probably a big clutch with a big V-twin and all the torque. And that's probably why it feels so heavy. I had this conception that riding a big touring bike down to the Keys, it'd be like floating on a cloud. Not so much. It's you know, it's not a tremendous difference that I thought it was going to be. I tell you this, if I got myself a Street Glide tomorrow, or any kind of touring bike, I'd want the windscreen up just a little bit higher, because I mean, if I'm going to be on a big proper touring bike, I expect the best wind protection, period. I just do, because, like, you know, I mean, it's good, but it's not perfect, right? Like right here, oh my god, all the noise just went away. It's like perfectly. So if I could just get whatever that is, 2 inches, I don't know, I just want that a little bit more. This nav system is nice. It's a big display. It works with my gloves. Let me turn cruise control on. It works with my gloves. Well, it was earlier. There it goes. So I just did a pinch zoom. You know, the thumb is the key. Got a pinch zoom with the index and the thumb. Works pretty good. I can drag the map around. I have a hard time hearing it. You can adjust the volume, and I know the volume's not all the way up, but I'm not sure how to turn it all the way up. If you just turn the volume up, it does it for the media, you know, music, the radio, Bluetooth paired to my phone so I can listen to my tunes. That's pretty cool. I like having these speakers. That's awesome. I know that's pretty standard for all you guys that ride touring. Well, you're in a hurry. But yeah, I'm sure speakers is pretty much standard for all you touring guys. You're just used to it. I'm not. So I think it's pretty cool. But I guess long story short, this is a pretty cool bike. This is a pretty cool experience. I'm still not used to having turn signal and turn signal controls on both handlebars. I still kind of find myself looking, when I want to change lanes or make a turn or whatever. But that's just something you get used to with time. It's just taking me longer, like everything does. But it is what it is. I'll tell you what, one thing I've noticed about braking on this motorcycle, and I would assume any motorcycles in this class of motorcycles, touring, big touring bikes, intercontinental touring machines, whatever you want to call them, the rear brake plays such a bigger role on this machine than it does on any of my sport bikes. And the thing is, like, the harder you brake on the ZX-10R or the Hayabusa, the more important, or I'm sorry, I got that wrong, the less important the rear brake is, because the rear wheel just keeps getting lighter and lighter and lighter as everything's going to the front. So when you're braking super hard on a crotch rocket, the rear brake doesn't do a whole lot unless you're trying to slide the rear end into a turn or something like that. But I mean, for the most part, for your average guy on the street, the rear brake's not very useful in a very hard braking situation. It's like the opposite. On this bike, man, I found myself using the rear brake a lot more. And I did get into one little situation where I had to brake pretty hard and late, and traffic just kind of stopped in front of me unexpectedly. Maybe I wasn't 100% focused, whatever the case is. But the rear brake, man, you depend on it a lot more. I think they say like 70-80% is the front brake in general for motorcycling. Man, I'd say it's like, I don't know, 60-40, maybe 70-30, but like on a crotch rocket in a hard braking situation, it's more like 90-95% front brake. Anyway, just something I noticed after putting, it will be 640-ish miles on the bike, is the rear brake, and how much more important it is on this genre of motorcycle than what I usually ride. It's definitely a comfortable bike. There's no two ways about it. These huge ass platforms are lovely. I keep kind of finding myself like hanging my heels off because it doesn't feel right having something support my heels, because I'm just not used to it. But at any rate, I think that my only complaint, I've already talked about, I wish this was a little bit higher because it's all quiet right now, but I think the only thing I can nitpick about in terms of comfort and the seating position and all that is, as nice as the seat is, because it's nice, man, it's super comfy, and the shape of it is like just about perfect, man. It just kind of rolls around your ass and just grabs everything and holds it still, and I like it. It's comfy, it's good. But you're locked into that position because of all the shapes and the forms where you can't move. Like, once you sit in it, it's like that's where you're at, and that's where you're at for the entire ride, and that's fine. I mean, at least it's comfortable. But I do wish I could kind of slide around a little bit more and move around a little bit more, but that's just the crotch rocket guy in me, I guess. One thing I did notice is the passenger pegs are kind of useful. I mean, I like moving around. I like getting in as many different positions as I can. So as the hours go by, I'm not in the same position the entire time, but I find it kind of comfortable throwing my foot on the passenger peg. It's kind of an interesting location because it makes you feel, you get like a similar knee bend to riding on the crotch rocket. It's a similar knee bend, and it feels kind of like a rear set. It's just up a little bit higher, obviously, for the passenger, because the passenger's sitting up a little bit higher behind you. The passenger's elevated, so I mean, it makes sense it's a little bit higher, but damn it, it's it's almost like riding a rocket. Anyway, obviously I'm exaggerating greatly, but it does kind of remind you of that. And it just gives you a different position to put your foot in when you're going on for hundreds of miles, hours and hours. Anyway, you know what to do. Keep it upside down, and we'll see you in the next one.